surprise you? I mean, do you expect that from the bottom half, or surprise you at all? That
We say it a lot. All the success we've had over the years, you can't live and die off the top 4 or 5 guys. I mean, everybody in the country's got good 4 or 5. You feel like if you're going to be a complete team, or like we call it a scary lineup, then you got to have some good hitters at the bottom. And when Benellis, settled into the 5 spot, of course he got moved to the 4 spot here as of late, but in the middle of the season when he went to the 5 spot, it just kind of bumped, Oriente down to 6, and then it was Britton, and then you have the catchers, Pinkham or Davis, and then of course you have Levy and Campbell. I mean, you got just good players. I mean, so it makes it hard. It makes it hard on the other pitcher, pitching coach, the defense, and yeah, it showed today.
Coach, was this one of the more complete weekends you guys have had in a while this season?
I mean, I don't know if it gets more complete than that, 2 quality starts and double-digit runs with a big lead against, again, one of the top teams in the country. I mean, it was, fortunately, we jumped on them early, and we're similar clubs, I think, offensively, where if they get a 3 or 4 run lead, then they can punish you because they're so aggressive, and they're going to slash, and they're going to hit and run, and we don't do everything that they do, but from a similar standpoint of putting pressure. Not that we did a lot of our stealing bases and hit and run, but just being able to bunt, and it just frees up our hitters, and that could have been them. I mean, if they go up 3-0 on us, then yeah, I mean, we spent a lot of time in our scouting report preparing for what they do. And so it's, fortunately, we were the team that got the lead, and we had the freedom in our swings, and it's a lot easier offensively when you get a lead, especially with college baseball kids.
what about Bobby's performance?
That was Bobby. That's impressive. To go through a regional with super regional with Reed and Bobby, and it's a good feeling knowing you got Nick Bennett there. If you get to a game 3, you got a guy like Nick Bennett who started game 1 of the regionals and started the final game of the regionals, and you can't do it with one guy. You got to do it with a staff, and obviously East Carolina got to see 2 of our top starters, and but yeah, I mean, super happy for Bobby, because we talk about it all the time. It doesn't matter what the score is, you got to pitch, and you're pitching against a great lineup, so you got to make pitches, and we did that.
You mentioned your breakthrough, obviously.
I don't know if this is, I mean, I think he's had some dominant performances. I mean, the Florida State last game of the year to clinch the #1 seed in the ACC. He pitched last weekend in the regional. I mean, I think people will remember this one probably more than others, but this guy pitched on the weekend too last year as a freshman, so they both pitched in the regional, Reed and Bobby. And I said it, getting it handed to us at Texas Tech, it's not what you want, but it happens, and that was healthy for us, because it reminded me of 2012. We went to Arizona, and they handed it to us, and I remember telling Garrett Wall when I left the press conference last year at Texas Tech, I said, man, this feels like Arizona. And it's not a good feeling, but after Arizona, man, we made a serious run for about 5 years. And I'm not making any promises for the next 5 years, but here we are 12 months later, and we're going back to Omaha.
Dan, you have mentioned it many a time. We're in the Omaha Rim. You don't shy away from that when they walk in the door here. How much does that help in situations like this weekend, to where they're used to maybe with the pressure?
It just starts from the time we recruit them, and I just say it all the time. Don't be afraid to try to achieve greatness. And that's what like I said, I told Cliff, because I think I know what they're shooting for. I think I know what their goals are. I think I know what that program's about. But it's got to be that way. Like I say, you don't get to the top of the mountain and look around and go, well, how did I get here? You get to the top of the mountain because you set that goal to get there, and so we can't shy away from that. And like I said in the opening statement, unfortunately, it's going to really hurt when you lose, really hurt. But, you know, we just talk about being bold and putting it on the line, and we use the phrase a lot, you know, we push our chips into the middle of the table. And so, you know, I thought it was pretty cool. They wanted to put a new banner up this weekend, and we had the banner. It had 07 Dog Pile, and it had, I think, a Big East Championship on there, and it's been getting a lot of TV time, and somebody suggested, why don't we put a new banner up there on the wall, and they sent me the picture of it and had the 4 trips to Omaha, and my first thought was, well, man, I don't want to change it up on these kids now. They've been walking in this building now every day for months, for a couple years now, and they've seen the same 2 pictures. And then I thought, wait a second, it's got the 4 trips to the College World Series. That's exactly what I want them to see. I want them to be reminded. That's why you're here. That's why you come to Louisville, and you've prepared for this. You know, there's that balance between pressure, expectation, and confidence. And fortunately, we've got the right balance right now.
Dan, having been to the World Series with several good teams, is there anything unique about this group, and how ideal is it to be going in off the last 2 days?
I think I mentioned it yesterday, you know, or Thursday maybe in the press conference. These teams they like the challenge of trying to be the greatest team to ever play here, and that's not easy. You talk about setting the bar high, man. That's and this team hasn't done it yet, but you know, it's something they throw around a lot, and older players speak to them, and they hear the stories of Logan Taylor on the bus and asking those questions. So. You know, we just got to get back to the drawing board tomorrow, and you know, hopefully I'm better prepared. And my job is to keep these guys better prepared. And you're supposed to celebrate. You're supposed to dogpile. It's not easy. I want them to enjoy this, but we still got baseball to play, and we want to play better in Omaha. We hadn't played as well as we're capable of, and so the goal is to, like Fitz said yesterday in our preparation, let's prepare to play good baseball.
Could you recall some of your superstitions about no hitters during the game? I mean, what were you thinking as this was going on?
I think the biggest one is nobody talks about it. I think somebody asked Bobby if anybody, you know, you don't bother them. You know, you just don't want to change up. And I felt responsible. You know, I had to change up the catchers. Zeke Pinkham deserved to be on the field for the last inning, the last out. And part of me thought, well, if he has the no-hitter, don't take Henry Davis out and change up the mojo. And then I thought, what's more important? You know, a no-hitter for Bobby, or your senior catcher captain being on the field to catch, be there for the last out. And I give Henry Davis a lot of credit, because he came up to me in the 7th and he said, Coach, Zeke or Pat, the 2 senior catchers, one of them deserves to be on the field if we can keep this lead. And I said, I appreciate you saying that, man. That's a mature statement from a freshman. And I said, yeah, I was already thinking that, because Zeke didn't play yesterday. Pat played, but Zeke didn't. So I'm glad it worked out.
On Thursday, you guys had 4th or 5th best odds to win the College World Series. And you play like this, I imagine kind of what I imagine you like your chances going in.
Yeah, I've learned my lesson, and I've made statements before. You know, getting beat bad by a team in a regional or super regional, and it looks like they're going to go win the thing. It's a whole new tournament. I mean, it's just like the ACC tournament. You know, it's a crazy game. You know, that's what you got to love about baseball. It's not just the bigger, stronger, faster team that wins. It's not necessarily the most talented team. It's not the team with the most draft picks. It's who plays the best. You know, who plays the best together.
It's
Talk some about ECU a little bit. Do you feel like they're one of those programs it's going to take that one time to break through, to release the pressure? Did that happen with your program when you did it the first time?
Well, you know, we were very fortunate, because we broke through that first year. Probably didn't have as much pressure as they have right now, ECU, and we actually had more pressure in 13 or 14 or one of those years. That first year, we just kind of caught everybody by surprise a little bit, and I learned how well kids can play when they're having fun, how much, when you have joy, but again, if you keep that coach and you keep that staff, that group's busting through to Omaha, and when they do, look out, because it'll be more than once.
One more for Coach Danny.
Whether this is your best team or not, is there anything about the way it's constructed that balance maybe that gives you a better shot this time around?
I'd like to think that, but you just got to play good baseball. You got to get quality starts. You got to make routine plays, and you got to get timely hits. That's what it always comes back to, But I don't blame you all for thinking that.
And you had a lineup change last week. You've had to tinker with the rotation the last 2 weeks. Speak to what Raj and Eric and Adam how you guys, you spent a lot of hours together, how you guys have all kind of pushed the right buttons, and the continuity maybe that you have with them that helps us out.
It's a lot of trust. We hold each other accountable. We expect a lot from each other, and you got to trust your staff, and we'll say it. We feel like Roger Williams is the best pitching coach in the country, and what Eric Snyder and Adam Bray will do with the hitters. But we push each other, we challenge each other, and so let me just close, if I could, with I appreciate Alex Parker and Ricky Babcock. Thought they made the right decision. We do it all year with game times, and if you're around baseball, you're a fan of baseball, that's part of college baseball, and they ran a phenomenal tournament. Danny Placencia and Josh Hurd from our staff, and there's a lot of people behind the scenes. It takes a great effort to run a regional and a super regional, and I don't ever want to take that for granted. It's a big honor to represent the ACC, and I think if anything we learned, we won the national championship in football, we won the national championship in basketball, and I'm not making any promises, but just because we went 0-2 and one of the best conference tournaments in the country doesn't mean we're not worthy of going to Omaha. And you got to give a lot of credit to the ACC for who we are, especially as a baseball conference. Last thing I'll just read, I got a text this morning, and after I got the text, I said, "Holy cow, Rock, that might have to be the press post-game interview speech." And he said, "Well, buddy, it was in the past on a sad note, so let's hope you can give God the glory on a positive note." And my buddy Rock Valentoni's the assistant football coach at Washington State. We grew up on the same street, played high school sports together. We're each other's spiritual accountability partners. Every morning we text each other. So you can imagine he's on West Coast time. I'm hitting him up probably about 4 in the morning or 3 as early as I'm texting him. But can you hear me now? In the busyness of everyday life, it's easy to pass over opportunities to share the good news. It can be intimidating to bring up spiritual subjects in public, at work, in the store, etc. But we must keep in mind Christ met unbelievers where they were. You realize what many Christians today don't. You have to get out in the field and share the good news. The gospel has 132 records of contacts that Jesus had, 6 in the temple, 4 in synagogues, 122 out in the mainstream of life. Christians hold the key to the ultimate city, eternity in heaven, and we have to share that key with others. We may not do it elegantly, may stumble over our words, but we must do our part through actions and words when possible, when we are to help people see and find God, so that at the end, we are told, "Well done, good and faithful servant." God bless everyone.
Thanks, Coach.